said, I had a dream in English. And then I knew that I had become bilingual. It was that morning when I said, you know what, I had a dream, and it was not Spanish. It was English. And that's when I got to the realization that I had become bilingual. Then what I started doing is I said, well, you have to take a language in high school, don't you? And I started taking German. People thought I was crazy. Now, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was going to pull my hair out before the class was over, the first class. And I started applying the same principles. Because once you learn something, nobody can take it away from you. And I started applying the same thing to German. That was crazy, but I became trilingual. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Anybody here? So, you know, all these things. So I graduate, I'm the only Hispanic out of 566 that graduated with honors. I graduated as part of the National Honor Society and as part of the German Honor Society after just 4 years of being in the United States. And they're like, oh, I knew you could do it, Jackie. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't. You were so mean to me when trying to figure out what I was going to do. Now, I'm thinking, you know what, I've lived through all these challenges. I mean, I'm only 18 years old. I mean, I'm ready for life. I mean, I could do this. I could take on anything. And when I was 21 years old, I had found the love of my life, and we had been married for a couple of months. Go to the doctor, just like anything else. And then, you know, the results were, she was supposed to call me for the results of a pap smear, right? I'm driving with my husband, and the doctor calls me without any warning, and she says, Jackie, you have to have a surgery immediately. Me? Why? You have cancer. I mean, you know, I had read the word cancer in the newspapers. I had read it in the, you know, you see it on TV. You see people that have survived cancer. But you have never seen that word associated with you. And that changed my life. I mean, you know, to the prospect of not being able to have children. When I was just 21 years old, I had just found the love of my life. And them telling me, by the way, I'm not sure that you're going to have children. And how my life just started changing. And I started thinking, well, is this why I read all these books? To prepare me for things like, I mean, maybe let me put it to practice. So instead of me saying, well, I mean, it took me by a shock. I mean, anytime that we have a situation like that, a crisis, we're humans. Of course we're going to be shocked. But then you become aware. You begin to embrace the beauty within that crisis. And that's what I started to do. I said, you know what? I'm not going to preoccupy about not having children now, because I'm going to fight this now. I'm going to take care of whatever I need to take care of. And then I know that if I stay positive, things will show up the way they're supposed to show up. Just like this showed up in my life to teach me a lesson, or to simply to live life more fully, right? So I'm thinking, you know what? I've gone through everything I need to go through. You know, I had the surgery. Everything was fine. I was pregnant. I got pregnant with my first child, and I was a high-risk pregnancy, visiting the doctor more than I visited my family in an entire 40 weeks. And the baby was fine. I had some complications. I had to come back in emergency afterwards. But nothing major besides going through that. So give birth to my baby, and I'm thinking, I'm so excited about life. I mean, oh my gosh, now I've really done it. I mean, I've gone through everything. Now this is really the time for me to start my business. I've always dreamed about talking to people and relationships and changing the world. You know, growing up, I always told my mom, Mom, I want to change the world. And she's like, okay. I really do, Mom. I get something right here. Like, it's bigger than me. It's like, it's going to come out. It's like happiness. It's joy. I want to change the world. You know, and it took my mom years to grasp, you know, what I was really feeling inside, what I still feel. Because that became my quest. How do I keep all these challenges in my life, and how do I keep them going? How do I keep that fire burning? And my challenge was not overcoming these obstacles. My challenge was, how do I keep this burning alive, this fire alive, that it can get me through anything in the world? So I started doing a lot of things that would get me in the zone. But not just in the zone today that you're here at an event, but in the zone every single day. Where you wake up in the morning, you feel alive, you feel awake and alert. So I became applying all these things. I had a mastermind group where we shared our dreams. But what I didn't know, again, was that all those things were going to put to the ultimate test. And that's when I started to open my own business. Go to this Indian restaurant. I had never in my life eaten Indian cuisine, ever in my life, okay? I'm Hispanic. I eat a lot of spicy stuff sometimes. But I would have never said, I'm going to eat a raw spice, because that's just not what we do, right? It's, you know, you're sort of wired from your culture in a certain way. It's like, you don't need a raw spice. So I go to this Indian restaurant. My very first client, they had been looking for me for 6 months after I gave birth to my child. And go there, and of course I had, you know, gone the corporate thing, and I had worked with Marriott, and, you know, I was a director of marketing for a chain of restaurants, and managing a $500,000 advertising budget and all that kind of stuff. So I knew that I was ready to start my own venture. So as I was leaving the restaurant, I see these little spices, and I said to the owner, what are these spices? Like, well, we use them to clean our palate after a meal. I'm like, well, I didn't have a meal. In fact, I've never had an Indian meal, but I'm going to clean my palate anyway. So I put this cardamom, the green cardamom, in my mouth. I kid you not. Within about 20 minutes, as I was with the client, kind of saying bye and wrapping up our conversation with the marketing plan, my life changed. I started feeling very weird. I mean, my whole body just, like, I was dizzy, and I started experiencing this excruciating abdominal pain. Like, I thought I was going to die on the scene. It was so horrible. And then the pain subsided, and finally they allowed me to go home. So I go home. The pain came back again, you know, for days. It was horrible. They found out that I had a rare condition that I was born with. And the spice that I ate triggered a cyst. That was my liver. It caused it to swell up so big that it obstructed the passage of the bile, and that's why I was having those weird symptoms. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks in 2 different hospitals, went to the very best at Northwestern. 40 different doctors interviewed me. They didn't know what I had. And 1 out of 150,000 people have what I had. And not only that, there's 5 types. I had type 2, and only about 3% of the cases found is type 2, and that's what I had. So I felt like I had won the lottery twice backwards. So once they found this thing, you know, now it's time for them to rectify it. They said, well, we're going to remove the gallbladder, and we're going to remove the bile duct, and you should be ready to go. We're just going to replace a plastic stent, and that's it, right? As they were doing the surgery, they found out that the cyst that I was born with, that I would have never been able to find out that I had, except for that spice that saved my life, was precancer level 4. And they said, Jackie, this is after the surgery, this could have been cancer in a week, in a month, in a year. And the truth is that because of the location, because it propagates through the bile, there's nothing that we could have done for you. In fact, you could have died without even knowing. So they had to remove the gallbladder, bile ducts, cut the intestine in half, and reconnect it to the liver. At that point, there was a risk of death. There was a risk of the bile leaking into the organs and disintegrating them, or there was a risk that I could have been fed out of my tube for the rest of my life. Now, I'm not emotional because of that. I mean, I'm emotional because I'm happy, I'm alive, right? And when I think about the ultimate experience that had me the life, that gave me hope, and gave me the awareness, gave me the ability to be awake and alert, and gave me the ability to live in the one-ment. One-ment is something that I actually just learned recently. One-ment is basically being one in the moment. Isn't that amazing? It's being alive, and I promised myself that ever since that happened, that I was going to live my life every day as if it were my last, that I was going to impact the lives of as many people as I could every day, and that I was not going to burden people with negativity. That in fact, even if I was having a negative day, that I would show up in the best light possible. And any time that I answer the phone, how do I answer, Shivani? When you ask me, how am I doing? I'm always doing amazing because it's a choice. Living is a choice. And living in fulfillment, living in joy, living with that burning desire. When you wake up in the morning, you feel like there's no better day than today. That's how I feel every day. And to show you a couple of examples of what I do is, as soon as I get up in the morning, okay, we are all blessed because we have warm water. There's a lot of countries, I mean, we're experiencing a lot of those situations where people are afraid of dying. I wake up in the morning, and as soon as I turn on the faucet, the shower, I imagine the water coming down as blessings. Think about this for a moment. I don't know how this idea came from. I just had the inspiration, okay? So I close my eyes, and I try to contain the water from the shower. But guess what? I can't. Because there's so many blessings in our lives that go completely unnoticed because we're not awake. We're hoping that a situation, someone, a newspaper is going to give us the answer. And the truth is that we have the answers inside of us, that we all are equipped with that guiding system, that burning desire that will never allow us to fail. And if everything that seemingly seems like a crisis, it's a beautiful flower that can be extracted from that, and you can apply it in your life. Another thing that I do is sometimes when I'm eating, so next time you see me, if you see me close my eyes for a moment, I just become aware of that 1 minute, that moment. So I close my eyes, and even my 6-year-old says, "Mom, why are you closing your eyes when you're eating?" I said, "I'm in heaven right now. I'm enjoying this amazing food." And he does that too now. He's like, "This is delicious, Mom." And see, sometimes when we close one sense, the other senses become much more aware. Right? So if you close your eyes, all of a sudden, the sense of smell is much more prominent if you really concentrate. So it's just an example of how these little things, of things that you can do in your life. Another thing that I do when I'm driving, and now my life has really become amazing every single day, and I'll tell you why. But as I'm driving, I just take one moment to say, "Oh, I am happy." I mean, that doesn't take much, right? If you close your eyes, even if with your eyes open, if you just take one moment to breathe in, take a deep breath, and as you're breathing in, you're attracting all that beautiful thing, all the things that you want. Just think about all the things you want as you're inhaling, and as you exhale, get rid of all the negativity. And if you do that 3, 4, 5 times a week, or once a day, I mean, that's all you need to do, you will find that your life is much more fulfilled, that you have, just that you become more complete as you go through life. So my story is one story. I'm 29 years old. I've survived cancer twice. I've been to the brink of death. But I got to tell you that I've also lived some of the most amazing moments. I published my first book in 2010, in front of a standing ovation of 167 souls that were standing up and saying, "I have dreams too." And to know that for the last 2 years, I've had 7 authors that have mentioned my name in their books as the inspiration to finish their book, that is powerful. And that's when I learned that awards and recognition and all these, they're wonderful. But when you can be a catalyst, and I say this from, when you can highlight other people, and when you can empower other people, and you can be the change agent for people to be more fulfilled in life. When you can unselfishly give to someone, and when you can be yourself, right? That's when you've discovered the true beauty of life. When you recognize that everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Thank you. To give out. This one is called The Little Book of Business Secrets at Work. It's a gathering of 200 business secrets that took me 3.5 years to collect. And every secret has an action item you can apply to your life today.